Hi everyone. I wanted to just go through a little bit about the possible labs you have for this section and talk a little bit about what they look like so you can choose which ones you might want to do. So first of all, just as a reminder, if you're on our course page, you should find the labs by going to your assignments. And then in your assignments, they will be labeled as labs. When you click on them, any of the ones that are available, some of them we haven't covered yet, so they're not available yet, but when you click on them, there should be both a Word document and a Google document that you could use to see the questions for the lab for that semester, this activity. So there are 6 labs that you can do to earn points for your planetary science badge. The first one that's available right now is the Math and Astronomy lab, so that one looks like this. It's not super exciting, unfortunately, but if you're a little concerned about your math skills, this is going to be a good place that you can practice everything we will need to do this semester. Honestly, this is going to be more math than we will ever do again, but if you can get through this, you'll know that you are set for the rest of everything else we will do in class. It's also a good reference to refer back to if you're feeling a little lost. It has some helpful steps about scientific notation, logarithms, a little bit about trigonometry, and then also some stuff about unit conversions, which will be very important and is my biggest failing. I always convert units wrong, so I want you guys to make sure you don't, and you aren't like me. When you can complete these either in a Google Doc, in a Word document, or if you would rather write them out on a piece of paper and upload images of that, whatever works best for you, as long as I can read it, that's fine. On each lab page, there should be a file submission, so you can just submit those files and I'll be able to grade them from there. So that's the Math and Astronomy lab. The next lab that will be available to you guys is the Planetarium lab. Unfortunately, we can't actually go to a planetarium, so we're gonna have to use a virtual planetarium. But in this lab, we'll kind of practice with celestial coordinates, which we'll talk more about in our next class. And also think about where you might want to go if you were trying to observe different things in the night sky. So either large numbers of stars or one star for a really long time. So where you would want to go to do those kind of observations. Finally, this will also have a little tiny bit of a little fun activity. You'll have to figure out where you got shipwrecked. So I've given you the night sky, and you'll use what you know about celestial navigation to figure out what latitude the island you got shipwrecked on is. The next lab that will be an option is the Measuring Earth lab. So this one's a little bit different because part of it actually has to be done at noon. This is the only lab that has a measurement that has to be done at a specific time of day. But if you want to complete this one, know that you will have to make one measurement at noon. If you do get stuck and want to join me in the online town to ask questions, you can do that later. You'll just need to have that measurement done already. It's a really fun lab though, because you get to actually go through and measure the radius of Earth from your backyard. So there's a little bit of a trig. It gets a little tricky, but I try my best to walk you through it. And if you are confused, you can obviously join me in the online town on Tuesdays or make an appointment with me or Skylar to walk through this, some of the parts of this with you. After you measure the radius, you'll also measure the mass of Earth using gravity, and you'll need like a bouncy ball or something, anything that you can drop, and just measure how fast it drops. The next lab that'll be available is our Planetary Atmospheres lab. So this lab looks at how we might know what's going on in planetary atmospheres. It'll use a simulator that requires Flash, but there's also an option where you can download this simulator, and I will talk more about that in class. But it examines how we figure out what's going on in planetary atmospheres and how we might go about thinking about where there might be life on other planets based on atmospheres. Another lab that's going to be an option, this one's a really fun one. I really encourage you to do some version of this lab, is building a scale model solar system. So you can make your scale model solar system as big as you want it to be, kind of like we made our scale model of yourselves in Memorial. This will be just three-dimensional outside or inside. If you want to make it with a roll of toilet paper, that's fine. I've done that with little kids. You can also make it outside and have it be really big and just really get to see how things are spaced out in our solar system. So I encourage you to check this one out because it is a lot of fun and fairly quick and painless math-wise. The last lab that we've got for this section is the composition of Saturn lab. This is also a really cool one, and I would encourage you to try it. I think it's really awesome because you're able to, from measurements that I give you, so this doesn't have any measurements you have to make, but measurements that you can make from Earth, you're able to determine the composition of Saturn. This will build on a lot of what we talk about in class later during this section, specifically Kepler's laws. But you'll be able to, yeah, take just things that you could observe from Earth and figure out what Saturn is made out of, or make a prediction. And your prediction will be pretty spot on if you can get through it. So I think that's really, really cool, just as it does show the power of what we can do from Earth when we're trying to figure out what's happening on other planets. I will note that this one has a little bit more math involved, a little bit of trigonometry. So if you're concerned about that, this might be one to do in the online town with me or some of your classmates on Tuesday night. Just a reminder that link is in our announcements. If you go to our virtual spaces for collaboration announcement, it's right here, and then I will be on at this link from 7:30 to 10 every Tuesday night, and you'll be able to talk to me and ask me questions, or if you find a lab group that you would like to work with, that's another way that you can work with them there. So that's a little preview of the labs that you have for this semester, for this section, for this planetary science badge. Just a reminder, you can get 25 points from your lab, so it's a good chunk. And they are, you know, especially, like I said, that scale model solar system one, I really think is a lot of fun. So I hope that you'll get to kind of get a little hands-on and doing some science this way with our labs. Please let me know, as always, if you have any questions, and I will see y'all in class.